551 pounds. Forget how many kilograms that is. Something that probably wouldn't have been possible in the States because I was still stuck in either thinking about sumo deadlift or mixed grip. Even something I'm thinking about going back to the States is when I try deadlifts, like I was always so anti-straps for a long time, but I'm starting to realize even with sumo deadlift, right? I mean, even Hafthor, who deadlifted 502 pounds, he used the figure 8 straps. And I was even thinking about, like, if I'm trying to do a 1 rep max sumo deadlift and I do a mixed grip, right? The leverage is a little bit awkward. Technically, it's better to just keep your arms straight and then pull that way. Or better yet, find a gym with an open hex bar is kind of another life of mine. But anyways, so yeah, and I think the undulation between living in the cool countryside or the mountainside, as I like to call it, and going to the city and, you know, living like semi-nomadically, like I think if you have the option, being able to live in a certain locale for 2 to 3 years and then going off to the next place, I think it's actually a really good idea. Like even, you know, expat families or military folks, it seems like it actually does afford a much more interesting and dynamic lifestyle. Even this one girl that I met, 18-year-old kid, super duper intelligent, knew like 5 languages, and you know, that's something that I aspire for my son Seneca to have. And also things that he loves being in nature. He loves throwing around the rocks. Earlier, before he took a nap, I started doing the rock toss in front of him. He thought it was hilarious. And also the nice thing about being in a non-city, I suppose, is there's like a quadrillion things to look at, right? Like if you try to pick up all the leaves, it would probably take you 100 lifetimes. If you counted all the rocks, Seneca loves throwing the rocks. Also, we've been blessed is that the sun's kind of come out a little bit. In the days where the sun is not here, it's actually pretty cold and miserable. But yeah, anyways, just hilarious because, you know, I really like the view and the, you know, planned stuff here. But even like after being here for like 3 or 4 days, you kind of get used to the view. You're like, wow, that's so nice, right? Like visitors always come to just like jaws drop, right? Now I'm just like, you know, it's pretty nice, you know, whatevs. Even this guy, and his name is Ted, he built this epic, you know, super modernist house by the water, by the sea. And I'm like, oh, do you ever get bored of it? He's like, yeah, you just kind of get used to it. So in life we tend to kind of acclimate to everything. I think is a good life thought. Things I am grateful for, you know, being at my mom's house, her Wi-Fi is insanely fast. I feel like even when I was in Cambodia, I was sipping Wi-Fi through a very narrow straw. So now being here, also having my mom's support and stuff like that, like I feel like I've been able to innovate a lot more. And even ironically, being here in the mountainside in Hadong, and there's like 40 people who live in this village, the Wi-Fi is so much faster than I experienced at public Wi-Fi coffee shops in Seoul. Shout out to Ole, O-L-L-E-H. I think it's hello spelled backwards. My mom she don't even have the fastest Wi-Fi plan, but it's just like I can upload a 2 GB video in like 45 seconds. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cray. Even in the States, if you're one of those lucky people who live in the Google fiber neighborhoods, I don't even know if it's that good. But anyways, the downside of most Koreans, they just use their fast Wi-Fi to consume YouTube. YouTube and you know, silly entertainment more. But I think that's also the thing with technology and Wi-Fi and stuff like that, is that it's always kind of a double-edged sword, is that you could either use it to your benefit or to your great detriment. And you know, I suppose the difference is maybe having either the intelligence or the fortitude or the practice to do so. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Just like puts Windows Vista to shame, right? And that's something I think too with turbo thoughtage. It seems to make ideal sense to live on an elevated mountainside side and have a view into a valley. Like even if you think about like the Oculus Rift virtual room, you're like this modernist house just like on top of the hill looking at everything. But if you think about like thus spake Zarathustra, Nietzsche vibes, like you become a mountainside hermit, and at a certain point you want to go back to land to interact and engage with society. I could probably rock toss for the rest of my life, but eventually I would like to go into the gym and do more like powerlifting, hype lifting, as I call it. Things I have been enjoying, like I did earlier, was doing this hill climb or this hill sprint. So essentially any mode of living or any mode of whatever is always a good chance for you to innovate. Also do like this notion of solo entrepreneurship, in which you care less about depending on other people, their skills, whatever, but you try to yourself figure out, okay, given my limited skills, abilities, how can I maximally innovate whatever I do in my platform, whatever, to take things further, to innovate. Even something that was interesting, I was reading the original Google research paper that was written by Sergey Brin and what's his name, the Larry Page, and early on they both had very rudimentary HTML skills. So that's the reason why Google's home screen search bar, whatever, was so minimalistic. Is not because they're just like, they had like Zen aesthetic. It was just more of a, that's just, they couldn't do much in HTML. Even I think about myself, there's always, every other day I'm like, oh man, I wish I could program and do this. But like things I could do rudimentary HTML. I know how to blog, vlog, write things, and send email newsletters. And so, given now the fact that, Seneca, I have a limited shelf life. Thank God his naps have been more epic. He's been able to nap like 3 hours, and so that I could use that time to do what I really care for. And so moving forward in our life, my big suggestion is, don't wish that you had more time, but just more intelligently leverage that time to your greatest benefit.